America needs a tidal wave of the old-time religion.
I have sinned against you.
How dare you!
We have no need to doubt God.
The heart of Babylon is preparing the nations to receive the Antichrist.
I didn't even build that house with money from the church. I built it with money from my book.
I don't make this stuff up.
Repenting of your sin.
It is a moral issue.
They got together and swore a pact to the devil.
I just enjoy seeing people worship, praising God.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to
Believe It
or Not,
the show where we believe it.
And sometimes we don't.
Most times don't.
Sometimes we do. Not today.
Sometimes we believe that it's a thing, but we don't necessarily believe the fundamental beliefs behind it.
Yeah,
so
it's true. It's true. But yeah, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just good. I'm having a coffee, having a donut. Nice. You know what? I feel like a hard-boiled detective.
I could go for a hard-boiled detective.
That's true. Yeah, I prefer more of a soft-boiled.
Oh yeah, it's been a weird week for me, or I guess a weird 2 weeks.
Well, you've had all kinds of crazy things going on.
Yeah, I got evicted, so that's fun.
Through no fault of your own,
through no fault of my own. Yeah, I pay rent, and I'm a model tenant, but I had flooding in the apartment last summer. I can share some pictures of those because it was insane how they had to tear up my floor and all that stuff. And then it started again. So they said, we just can't have somebody living in that place anymore. So I had to find a place, and I found a place, and it's not a basement suite. It's an actual apartment. So
that's
I'm excited about that. Yeah. It's a balcony, all that stuff. Woo. It's in a very high construction area of Toronto, so my view will just be of a building being built, but still,
whatever.
Yeah. And I was, I brought up that it's on the 14th floor, and then somebody pointed out that that's actually the 13th floor.
Yep.
Probably, and my address is 1413, so I'm basically like,
oh, that's fun.
It's a good thing I'm not superstitious.
I was doing so. I sometimes will do deliveries for various things, and I was doing one in a building, and there was no 13th floor button. There was a 14th floor. It went 12 and then 14, and I was thinking about like just how ridiculous that a superstition has been so pervasive in the construction industry.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's absolutely bananas that people are afraid of the number 13.
Yeah, it's
that they won't have a floor. And the people on the 14th floor, you're on the 13th floor.
Yeah, exactly. And,
so what's the difference?
And also, like, the 13th floor was a pretty underrated movie, and I think everybody should check it out.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's kind of like same idea as like The Matrix kind of thing.
Well, then why don't we just watch The Matrix?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But we're not here to talk about my life. We're here to talk about somebody else's life.
Oh.
Yeah. A famous family. I thought we'd talk about
the Clampetts.
We're gonna. I thought we'd talk about the Grahams.
Oh,
all about the Graham,
Billy Graham,
Graham and fam, the Graham fam,
right,
as it were. Billy Graham. So the patriarch of this family. Is that the right word? Am I using that word right?
Big Daddy of family.
Big Daddy of the family. So Billy Graham is pretty well known. I think a lot of people know who he is, know kind of what his life was like. But I thought we'll go through what his life was like, and then we'll go through kind of his family members and how their life turned out. So Billy Graham, born William Franklin Graham Jr., was born on November 7th, 1918 in Charlotte, North Carolina. His parents were in the church, the Associate Reformed Presbyterian Church. It sounds to me like it was a pretty much like they go to church on Sunday, but it's not like a crazy evangelical like family, kind of thing where it's like a bunch of different rules and like it's a whole thing in the household. It's just, you went to church on Sunday because that's what you do. But then, he had his big born again moment and decided that he was going to save the world. And he went off to Bob Jones College, which is now Bob Jones University, and hated it. Just absolutely hated going there because it's a super fundamentalist college. And why would you want to go to a super fundamentalist college? So he dropped out after one semester. I wonder if, though, that they count him as like an alumni, like when they try to get people to go there.
Probably. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems to be very common with a lot of those universities with anyone who is remotely notorious,
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they give away like honorary degrees to people.
It's true. Yeah.
Because I think Bill Gates dropped out of his school. Didn't his school end up giving him like an honorary degrey afterwards?
Probably. Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. You were a crap student, but you ended up being successful. So we want to take credit for it.
Exactly. I wonder if my Bible college is taking credit for me.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
We'll see.
But yeah, he ended up going to Florida Bible Institute for a while and then went to
FBI.
I never even thought of that. That's cool. Oh, he was in the FBI. And then he went to Wheaton College, which isn't a Bible college.
Will Wheaton?
Will Wheaton. He got a degree in anthropology.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's where at Wheaton, he met his wife, Ruth. They got married. He got a job at a church. He was a pastor. And then at 29, he became the president of a Bible college, like the youngest president. It's still, I think, in the U.S. history of colleges.
Why would you let a 29-year-old be the president of your college?
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if it was like, on Parks and Rec when they had been like the mayor of a town when he was 18. And like just, they
didn't know what they were doing.
Tried to make it a party school for Bible college. Yeah. But and then he was hired by Youth for Christ, which was a new organization at the time. We've talked about them a little bit. How
UFC?
Yeah, exactly. Or YFC.
No, it's UFC.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Youth
for Christ. But they went on speaking tours with them and really started to become known as an evangelist, a famous evangelist. Yeah. And like he started his own, the Billy Graham Ministries. What is it called? He started his own ministries. What he did when he started going out on his own and started doing like the ministry with the staff and stuff like that, he noticed that a lot of evangelical preachers or just like touring preachers like himself were like mired in scandal. Like they always just inevitably had some sort of sex scandal or drug scandal or running with the law or like were caught stealing a bunch of money from their organizations or whatever. So he decided he wanted to not have that happen to him. And so they created the Billy Graham rule, which was basically, let's see here.
He had a rule named after him?
Yeah, and a lot of pastors still follow it. And like Mike Pence is famous for following part of it where you're never to be alone with any woman who's not your wife.
Okay. You never touch the clowns. You let the clowns touch you.
Exactly. They also had rules for like how they collect offering in the churches. And then they would only go to certain types of churches. Something they said churches supportive of cooperative evangelism. So I'm not quite sure what that is, but make sure that maybe just one person doesn't get all the money kind of thing. And then they had systems of kind of predicting how much money should be coming from a system so that there's nobody skimming off the top. And they were very like, forthcoming with their finances. Right. And he was pretty scandal free, besides a few things like on the Nixon tapes. We've talked about that before, how he talked about the Jews and how they have a stranglehold on the media.
Yeah.
And so that was a pretty shitty thing he did. But yeah, so he went on to become a very famous evangelist. Some would say the most famous evangelist. He was really good at staying out of politics for the most part. Like he really liked Nixon and he brought Nixon into like crusades to speak and to lots of boos from people. People like hated him. So like he'd come on and like and now we have he's running for he's the vice president or he's running for president. We're going to have him come up and talk. And then they like everybody just boos him and he has to like step down. So he kind of stopped doing that. But yeah, he still, met with pretty much every single president, starting with Truman up until Obama. So
wow.
Yeah. And Truman hated him.
Yeah.
But everybody else seemed to like him. But
it goes back to like what we were talking about before about how if you want to be the president, you have to put on this weird air of pandering to these religious nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And with Truman
makes sense. He was he was a hard ass.
Yeah, true. Well, and Billy Graham told the press what they talked about in the conversation. And then Truman was like, that's a shitty thing to do. You're a pastor. I was meeting with a pastor. So he vowed to never do that again. And like, he never talked to the press about what he talked about with the president after that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And that's kind of helped him. But he's always been a registered Democrat, which a lot of evangelicals hate. He supported both parties, but always has been a Democrat. And he's supported members from both parties. He was against Kennedy running for president because Kennedy was Catholic. And he thought that Kennedy would be taking orders from the Pope.
That's such a...
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. And then Kennedy did his famous separation of church and state speech, which kind of calmed a lot of people down. But
yeah, well, now they don't want that.
Yeah, exactly.
Now they don't want separation of church and state.
No, they don't want that.
I feel like most people almost would want the Pope giving orders to the
president. Yeah, it's insane how that divide has just crushed, and that's mostly because of people like Jerry Falwell and the moral majority and stuff like that. Like Jerry Falwell was really trying to get Billy Graham to be on board with him with all that stuff. And Billy Graham just refused. And after Nixon and Kennedy, and then with Truman and everything too, he started realizing that like, it's just better for his career to stay out of like having strong political opinions.
Well, at that time, yes. I think now it's the opposite.
Yeah.
It seems like you kind of have to have those if you want to get a base to follow you.
Exactly. And we'll get later to his son, Franklin, but his son, Franklin, took the opposite approach and is still taking the opposite approach. I mean, Graham did have some shitty things too. Like he was, been outspoken against homosexuality and gay rights, and not as hardcore as his son, but definitely not quiet about it. I mean, he was like, at first when he started, the first thing he would do is take down all the ropes and signs and stuff like that to make sure that his rallies were never segregated. So that's a good thing. Like he was very outspoken for like in the civil rights movement and stuff like that. So,
I mean, people can have good things, or at the very least have good optics.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So, a mixed bag with him. I mean, yeah, this isn't an in-depth look at his whole life, but that's kind of a brief overview. But I mentioned he married his wife, Ruth.
Well, I'm glad he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She seemed like a nice lady, but, it wasn't an easy life for her being the wife of someone who was so prominent and was never really around.
I mean, it's good if she didn't like him.
Yeah, it's true. But she wanted to go into ministry. Like that was her goal in life, was to be a missionary. So she was born in China to American missionaries. They were like missionary doctors, I think. She just always had a heart to go out and, help people around the world and preach the gospel around the world or whatever. But Billy felt called to be a preacher and an evangelist. And so basically he said, if you want to marry me, I'm the man of the house. I'll be doing the leading and you'll be doing the following.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she did. Basically, she became a stay-at-home mom and in a lot of ways acted as a single mom because he was on the road so much. They seemed to be in love. Like they seemed to have had like a healthy relationship in a lot of ways, or not healthy, but like a loving relationship, I guess, like when they were together. Based on like stories from the kids and stuff, but it's still there's still a lot of issues there. Yeah.
That's one of those things where it's just like they seem to be in love and you're like, but I don't know about that. I don't know how much of that is just people accepting their place and
it's true
things and just kind of being like, well, I may as well make the best of it.
That's true, especially at that time. Like divorce just wasn't
you kind of have to tell yourself that you love them, otherwise it's just like, well, there's nothing else I can do, so I have to at least say that I love them, otherwise I just feel like total trash.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's very true. Because one example is so they got married in August of 1943, and then when they were returning from their honeymoon, she got really sick, and she came down with something, and but he had a bunch of speaking engagements or preaching engagements lined up, so he just like basically dropped her off at the hospital and went on tour. Like he didn't cancel anything and just like went right to it, like right after their honeymoon. So that was a big kind of tell for her that this is not going to be a normal marriage.
Well, like how sick?
Well, she had to stay in the hospital for a while, but Yeah, it doesn't really. Yeah, the article I read didn't really say what she had.
That's a tricky showbiz thing.
Yeah,
the show must go on. So.
Yeah. She wrote some books. She wrote some books of poetry, some children's books and stuff like that. And she did end up having like a ministry of her own in a lot of ways. Not as much speaking, although she did do some speaking events.
Ministry.
Yeah. So, but she more as an author than anything. So staying at home, I guess, and not having.
Gives you a lot of time to write.
Yeah, exactly. And but they did have 5 kids together, and we'll talk about them. Yeah. Yeah, they had 5 kids. One story that is told is that Ruth decided to surprise Billy on one of his tours. So she took a trip with the kids and surprised him. She sent the toddler to run and say hi to her dad. He didn't recognize his own kid.
I mean, that's one of those things sometimes, like you're on the road, you've been out there for let's say you've been out there for a few weeks or whatever. And then just out of the blue, a toddler just runs up to you. I think it's fairly safe to be like, not recognize them at first. You know? I mean, if you do like, wait a minute, oh, yeah. That's my kid.
That's true. Yeah, actually that reminds me of, I surprised my dad once for his, I want to say 65th birthday. So one of the big birthdays. So I surprised him. I lived in Calgary at the time. I flew home and surprised him. I show up. He was taking a computer class at the time, which is its own thing. It's adorable. He wanted to learn how to send emails and stuff. But at the community college. So I showed up at the community college and found out where his class was. And I walked into his class, but I had long hair and a beard. And he hadn't seen me with long hair and a beard before. So I was just like, hey. And he's like, oh, hey, just thinking I'm another student, like asking him for a pencil or something. And then he just takes a moment. He's like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. I mean, context is a huge part of that.
Yeah.
So I think it can be fairly reasonable to not recognize someone right
now. And at least like take a moment. Yeah.
Especially if you're not expecting somebody there.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but
I hate to be defending an evangelist, but you know what? I'm gonna be as fair and balanced as I can.
Oh, she also in 1966, she founded the Ruth and Billy Graham Children's Health Center in Asheville, North Carolina. And then she was actively involved there until her death. So basically, so she had her own kind of things that she did. And
she was still active.
Difference. Yeah, exactly. I think she would have been more hands-on if she had gone like full with her, what she had in mind for ministry. Whereas he was always more about like the speaking and saving souls.
Yeah.
They had a number of kids together. The first one, the oldest daughter was Virginia Leftwich Graham. She went by Gigi. She became a speaker and an author and all that stuff. So she first got married to a Swiss Armenian guy named Stefan Chichiljan. I looked it up how to pronounce it before, and I still struggle. It's a
just say C.
Yeah, it starts with a T though. So
start with a T then.
Stefan T.
She
was 17 when they got married. They had a number of kids together. I want to say 7, but I don't know where I put that number. But they had a lot of kids together. But they eventually split up. He was not the best person. That was pretty rough on her. When they got divorced, she ended up getting remarried and with one of her childhood friends. And but she's done a lot of speaking and touring and stuff like that. Some rough times in her life, but but overall, she seems to be doing well, I think. And then they had Anne Graham Lotz, and she's
Graham.
She's gone on speaking tours. She's like, they say that Billy Graham said she was the best preacher in the family, even though he'd always said, like earlier would say that women can't be preachers. Yeah. But then he went around and said she is actually the best preacher, but she wouldn't call herself a preacher because of the way she was raised, that women can't be preachers. So she always just called herself a speaker or a teacher and more like inspirational things, stuff like that. Written a lot of books. She started Angel Ministries, which is a nonprofit.
So they were all very active in
very
trying
active.
To be like speakers. And I mean, I guess when you grew up with that. I mean,
Yeah,
makes
exactly.
sense.
Well, they all seem to have like rough teenage years, like alcohol and drugs and kind of rebelling against their parents, and then just went into the ministry because that's the family biz. But
I mean, you have an in, right?
Yeah, exactly. And she started the Just Give Me Jesus revival. So she started her own kind of revival tour under the Angel Ministries like umbrella of going around and preaching.
Just Give Me Jesus revival.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, her and probably Franklin are the only ones that didn't get divorced. So she was married to her husband for 49 years, almost 49 years before he died in 2015. And
well, I mean, in a way, dying is kind of like divorce, right?
That's true.
Till death do us part. So.
That's true. Yeah. That just reminds me of Arrested Development. Oh, you're such an expert on marriage. Oh, I forgot. Your wife is dead.
Yeah.
And then Ruth Graham, the second Ruth Graham, but they called her Bunny, was her nickname.
Oh, okay. So there's a daughter Ruth and a mother Ruth.
Yeah. So they called the daughter Bunny.
Why wouldn't you just give the kid a different name if you're going to give him a nickname?
Exactly. And same with Franklin. Franklin's actually William Franklin Graham III. So he's Billy Graham III. But went with Franklin. It was always just expected that she'd be a homemaker and a mother. Like her that's just the way it was brought up and the way they were told to be and to live and all that stuff. She always wanted to be a nurse, and she told her dad that she wanted to be a nurse, and he just said no explanation. She just wasn't allowed to be a nurse, and she just didn't become what she wanted to become because her dad just said nope, can't do it.
Well, it almost makes sense why most of them became speakers and writers, is because that was already something that their mother was doing, so it almost feels like this is an okay thing to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And another thing too that I didn't really mention with like the way Billy Graham was with his kids, because he was gone so often, when he came back, he was like, he would just let them do anything. Basically, the mother was very like organized and strict with, you have to go to bed at this time. She was the disciplinarian, because the one time he did discipline, I think it was the oldest daughter, she got really mad and said, "You're never home. And then you come and you yell at me and discipline me." And that really hurt him, that like they saw him as never being around and stuff like that. So from then on, when he was home, he would just like, give them money to go to the store and get candy, let them stay up way past their bedtime, and just kind of. The
thing about that is like, why you can't feel bad about never being home when you're never home.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you choose to be out. You choose to do this stuff. Like you're always going out and you're like doing these things.
Yeah.
You can't feel bad that your kids are noticing what you do.
Exactly. Yeah.
You just either have to accept it or change it.
Yeah, exactly. Bunny got married, and she discovered that her husband was unfaithful, like very unfaithful, like for a long time, and wanted to divorce him. But Billy strongly discouraged it. So this was the first divorce in the family. This was before her sister got divorced. Very much said, please don't do this. This is going to look really bad on the ministry, and it's going to hurt a lot of evangelicals. So just try to do whatever you can to make the marriage work, and which isn't a good thing. And she realized that her father, didn't have her best interest in mind. It was all about his ministry and how his ministry would work out. So
it's really quite insane to think that they hold marriage at such a weird, like high reverence, that even if something is so toxic and bad and almost evil in some cases, that you can't do anything about it. You just have to sit with it. Otherwise God will be mad or something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. Like, like who is this helping in any way?
And even the Bible says that divorce is okay when it's because of unfaithfulness. So like what, I don't know, like what's he. But yeah, I guess divorce was just so frowned upon at the time that, And
it's always like most of this stuff is just like, who gives a fuck? Stay out of other people's business, and it's none of your business.
Yeah, exactly.
This doesn't affect you in any way. So like, fuck you.
Yeah. And so she did divorce him, and which is good. And she got remarried. She got remarried a few times. The third time, She got divorced. She started the Ruth Graham and Friends Foundation, which is basically a foundation, a support foundation for Christian women who have gone through terrible marriages within the evangelical world, and kind of like how broken and how kind of outside it makes you feel, like, because divorce is so frowned upon. So she created this organization to be a support for them. And then in 2009, though, she got married for the fourth time, and I think they're still married. And he was a former pastor, but they got together. Yeah, but they got together while he was being tried for possession.
What?
Yeah, I'm going to say CP from now on, because I'm going to beep that and say CP, because we will get demonetized. But yeah, so
oh my God.
Yeah, he was on trial for that. Yeah, but I don't know what happened. I actually didn't look in much further, but they're still married and stuff. So maybe, I don't know if he went to jail or not, but
yeah, that's I mean, yeah, okay, that's a quick thing to gloss over there, but wow, okay.
That's the thing in the article. I read it too. It was just so glossed over. And
I feel like that would be a deal breaker for me.
Yeah.
If I started dating someone and then we're like, oh, by the way, I'm on trial for something right now. You're like, for what for? Something, like, was it like a speeding ticket or something? And they're like, oh no, for bad things.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think this is going to work out.
Unless she's the one who like found the evidence of why he's definitely 100% innocent. And that's like,
yeah, I guess that's the thing. We're like, he's innocent. I know it. He's a good guy.
Yeah. He's just being set up. Yeah. And then the next child out of the five, I guess the fourth child, was Franklin, or like we said, William Frank, who, as it turns out, is just a garbage person.
Oh,
so he's the one now. He's like the CEO of the Billy Graham Association. He's also the CEO of Samaritan's Purse. Yeah. So Samaritan's Purse they do it's like a missions organization.
They find people struggling on highways and then they rob them.
Yeah. Do you know the shoebox thing at Christmas time, the Operation
Christmas Drop or whatever?
Or whatever, the Operation or Christmas.
I think it's Christmas Drop.
That's a different thing. That's like the army one. But they have these shoe boxes where you fill a shoebox and then bring it to your church or bring it to whatever organization is doing it with little toys and stuff.
Yeah.
And then
Christmas Drop
is it okay? And they give it to people, but with like, you have to sit through a sermon and you have to sit, it has like, it's full of like Jesus-y stuff. It's like one of those things where here's a gift, but also you have to sit and listen to things about God.
What the hell?
Yeah. And so there's been like, some pushback to like, maybe don't support Samaritan's Purse. They do some, they're not the best. But
maybe it's Operation Christmas Child. Is that what it is?
Oh, yeah.
It is through Samaritan's Purse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that in school. Sorry.
No.
Very curious about that.
Yeah, a lot of schools do it too, yeah. And it's all Jesus-y.
We never had to pray.
What's that?
I never had to pray in school.
No. You fill the box, but when they give the box to the kids, they make them sit through all the Jesus stuff. Yeah.
All the Jesus things do that. All the missionaries do. They're like, we're going to build them a school. I'm like, oh, but you got to learn about Jesus first.
Yeah. And like those, soup kitchens where it's like, they're just hungry, but you have to listen to a sermon first. I just found that so.
Oh, it's conditional. Yeah. They always say it's selfless, but like, well, is it? I don't know. If you're forcing your beliefs down their throat, is that selfless?
Yeah. Year. So he's been president of Samaritan's Purse since 1979. In 1995, he became vice president of the Billy Graham Evangelical Association and then became CEO in 2000. There was some controversy over the fact that he gets two salaries one from each organization, and he makes a lot of money off these two organizations. But in his younger days, drugs, alcohol, all that stuff, the rebellion, he was kicked out of school for keeping female classmates out past curfew.
Praying. They were praying.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure.
But yeah, he's basically any of the big crusades, which I find is a terrible word to use, but any of the big Billy Graham crusades are now the Franklin Graham crusades. In Canada, he did the Rock the River or Rock by the River thing for a few years running, where it was Christian rock bands all through that would tour through Canada, and then he would speak after them and stuff. Yeah, so he makes a lot of money, does a lot of touring, and is a very influential person in the evangelical world. And unlike his father, like we said, he's very political, very Islamophobic. He has called it a very wicked and evil religion. And what did he say? They want to build as many mosques and cultural centers as possible so they can convert as many Americans as they can to Islam.
Right. Let's look at how many churches are in every corner of every town everywhere.
Yeah.
And you're going to talk about them putting up maybe 1 or 2 mosques in their town?
And it's like...
Get fucked.
You're also trying to convert all Americans to your religion.
Yeah.
So
like aggressively so.
Yeah. He said that Barack Obama had the seed of Islam and was born and raised as a Muslim.
Was he one of the secret Muslim guys?
Yeah.
Oh
he said that Obama helped the Muslim Brotherhood infiltrate the highest level of the US
Jesus
government.
Christ.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm more worried about the Christian Brotherhood taking over everything.
Yeah, exactly.
The one that's actually doing harm to the country.
Yeah, exactly. He's very, very supportive, obviously, of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And
well, he was appointed by God, so that makes sense.
Yeah. And he also, he was supportive of conversion therapy. He was rallied against a bill to ban conversion therapy because it said it would force... It's forcing pastors what they can preach about and stuff like that. And,
so instead you're going to force people to this horrible quote unquote treatment because you disagree with who they are fundamentally as human beings.
Exactly. And
but telling them that they can't do that, that's bad.
Yeah. And he said that not letting people do conversion therapy is the same as like banning conversion to Christianity. If you can't convert.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It's brainwashing.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Yeah.
It's
torture.
Insane.
Yeah. It's
holy shit.
Yeah. So I don't like him.
No, this guy sucks.
Yeah. And he was, very much, anytime there's anything to do with anything LGBTQ, he's on Fox News or whatever, talking about how the gay agenda, they're trying to indoctrinate your children. He spoke out angrily about Arthur because there was a gay wedding on Arthur. And,
Mr. Rat. I remember that. Mr. Ratburn got married, didn't he?
Yeah. And,
I remember the controversy too.
Oh, and he said that he likes Putin's anti-gay laws and they should be in America too.
Oh, good. Oh, we like what Putin's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Russia is definitely the gold standard for us. And all the human rights violations that they have going on. So
yeah. Oh yeah. He wants all the human rights violations here as long as they're not against evangelical Christians, but yeah.
Oh yeah. As long as they're against minorities, who cares, right?
Exactly. That's, yeah.
Wow.
My brother was saying, and I didn't confirm this, but I'm sure. But after 9/11, he said that we need to temporarily put all Muslims in an internment camp.
I wouldn't be surprised based on what he's saying.
Yeah, and I said, so I guess because most mass shootings are by white dudes. He wants all white dudes in an internment camp too.
No, they're misunderstood.
Right. Yeah.
You don't understand, Trev. They're troubled youths.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're not evil. They're just misguided.
Yeah.
So, garbage.
Yeah. He's just so many garbage things. In the UK, they a bunch of venues withdrew in 2020. People protested because of his like awful anti-LGBTQ policies and the way he tries to destroy people. But lately, though, he has been trying to encourage people to get the vaccine, using his work with the Samaritan's Purse and talking about how vaccines have helped people all over the place. So I guess
this just feels like there have been so many people on that side of the fence who, for the first 9 or 10 months of it, were all like, vaccines do nothing, masks do nothing. This is all a bunch of bullshit. We need to open up. I'm almost positive he was one of those people.
Probably, yeah.
And he was pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And now that we've gotten so far into this thing that they see like, oh, maybe this is real and maybe I do need a vaccine. They're like, oh, I want to get a vaccine.
Yeah.
So a way to make it look like they're not a huge piece of shit if they get one and contradictory is for them to change their stance and start saying like, well, look, I've been telling people they got to get vaccinated. Like, yeah, so you can get it before everyone else, you fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah.
Fuck this guy, man.
Fuck this guy.
I think any of those people, they shouldn't get anything. I don't care how much money they
true.
have.
Yeah.
They don't get a vaccine. Fuck them.
So the youngest son, Ned, his real name is Nelson Edmund Graham, but he went by Ned, was his mom's favorite by a lot of accounts. Just like a mama's boy.
The baby.
He was the baby. Like I said earlier, she was born in China and she had a heart for missions. So he kind of took on that mantle and started the Eastgate International, which is like a Bible producing company in China. So it's like, and they cleared everything with the government. It's all legit, but they print Bibles for.
Don't we have enough Bibles?
Yeah, exactly.
Who's still buying Bibles?
Chinese people. Well, they're giving them away to Chinese people.
So they're not buying them. They're just giving them away.
Yeah.
They can't even sell them. They have to give them away now.
Yeah. And it's like a ministry or whatever, to China. And it's like, he was in China and he was, into alcohol pretty heavily. And he said he didn't have an affair. He just spent way too much time with women who weren't his wife, but he didn't do anything with them. But
that sounds like an emotional affair.
Yeah, that does sound like it. Yeah, exactly. And they ended up divorcing. And then because he wouldn't admit to what he was doing, a couple people on the board of Eastgate stepped down. And then he put his sister and her husband at the time, Stefan T., on the board. Stevie T. And that caused controversy as well. And then eventually I think he stepped down for a while, but I'm pretty sure he's still on, like he's still heavily involved in it. And he got remarried and went to rehab. When his mom died, his mom always told him that she wanted to be buried near the home that they grew up in like a small graveyard near that home. And that was always her wish. And he really fought for it. But Franklin convinced their dad to like not do that and have her buried at the Billy Graham Library in Charlotte. So like in a big public spectacle. Yeah.
Oh my God. That's disgusting.
Yeah. So he's Franklin's just such a garbage person.
I mean, I don't really believe in cemeteries and funerals anyway.
Yeah.
Even still.
Yeah.
Completely against the wishes to just throw him in this huge public space is even more gross.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah. His sister said that growing up, she always just imagined he'd end up in jail. She did not think he'd go into the family business. Like she just thought. But like you said, or like we said.
How would you think that? They all did.
Yeah, exactly. Because he was like having to drugs and alcohol. But yeah, most of them were having to drugs and alcohol. So
yeah, it's kind of like every other one of you did.
Yeah.
It's pretty likely that he would too.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's also grandchildren. And so a number of grandchildren, also in the ministry, also doing the family biz. Will Graham, not the guy from Red Dragon, but yeah. But that's his one of his grandson is a preacher and actor. He played Billy Graham in a motion picture in a Christian movie about Billy Graham.
Him playing his grandfather in a movie. That's all he's done as an actor?
No, he's also done, probably as an actor. Yeah. So he's probably not an actor, but, and an author. Yeah. He's an author. Yeah, exactly. Okay. And so author, missionary, basically trying to do the whole Billy Graham thing. I guess he's Billy Graham the fourth. Maybe then we'll hear more from him, but yeah. Hopefully not. Gigi has two sons who did some prominent things, and they have that same last name I can't pronounce. Chividian T. So Boz T seems like the good guy. Boz B-O-Z or B-O-Z for our American listeners. Boz T started something called Grace. It's godly response to abuse in the Christian environment. So it's basically they go in and they're a third party kind of auditors that go into ministries and Christian colleges and go through and just look for cases of abuse, look for signs that, their leaders are acting in an ungoodly way. And they also try to equip ministries and stuff of how to avoid, having people who on your staff who abuse people. And
I'm sure growing up in a family full of evangelists, I can't say it today. Evangelists and all that stuff. I'm sure he's seen so much.
He's seen so much, and he's a lawyer, and he has since stepped down from Grace. I think just in 2019 to just focus on being a lawyer, litigating, sex crimes and litigating like against people who have done these awful things, like just really supportive of the Me Too movement and stuff. And seems to me until something comes forward like a decent guy
person. Well, at the very least, they set up a program to try and weed out shittiness in the church, and then once that was done, he now is litigating sex crimes. That's a pretty good guy so far.
I think so. His brother, though, could maybe have used his brother's services.
Oh no.
Tullian Tvitsin did really well. Tullian T did really well as a speaker and is doing well as a public speaker and evangelist. Just mostly a pastor. But exactly. He's been a pastor for many years. But in 2016, multiple women came forward that he was grooming them for sexual encounters, using his position of authority as their pastor to mostly married women, and emotionally grooming and seduction. And his wife left him in the midst of all that. He lost his job at the church he was working at in Florida. Took a couple years off, came back with the apology of, I messed up big. Infidelity is very wrong. And he just played it up as infidelity and not taking advantage of people using his power.
It's a little more than just infidelity, pal.
Yeah. But when I was looking up stuff, I saw the first video that popped up was like somebody who already has an established ministry talking about dangers of temptation and sexual sin and stuff like that with him as the guest. And that was kind of one of his big comeback things about being open and honest about sexual sin. It's like, it's not just sexual sin, it's abuse.
Also, I have a huge problem with these people just equating like they make a mistake and it is not their mistake. It is sexual sin. It is temptation. It is outside forces acting upon me. I didn't mean to do this. I was tempted. I was pushed into it by evil forces around me. Like, no, you're a piece of shit who decided to do this bullshit, and now you're trying to pass it off as just some errant ways that can easily be forgiven. Like, no,
not
that's not how this works. That's not how this should work at all.
And now now he's back in a position of power, running a church. And so that's the Graham fam in a nutshell.
Okay, so a couple of real pieces of shit and some okay people, I guess.
But mostly some pieces of shit. Ruth seemed like a decent person. Both Ruths.
It seems like there's just some sadness there too.
I think with Ned too. I mean, I don't know too much about it, but it just seems like he would have done better in a different family. Like it just probably all of them.
I'm sure it's it's a family history of neglect and substance abuse and all kinds of things that just pile up. But.
Exactly. And let's do we'll go into some Patreon thank yous, and then we'll do some Christian rock.
Let's thank the people.
Oh my God! Wow! Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Bible study. We're really diving in today.
Praise be to God.
Praise be to God. Can I be a priest? I've never sinned.
Genghis too.
But we just first, before we get into the prayer request, let's just thank a couple people. I just want to say a huge thank you to Ray, Samuel, Kurt, and Stealthy Potato. We really appreciate you coming out today.
I mean, I do have to say I'm sorry that Stealthy Potato, your mom is very cruel naming you that. But
school must have been hard.
It must have been.
Kids are cruel.
But I do actually have a prayer request today for my good friend Kelsey. Trev. So
okay, yeah. Yeah, please, and we'll be happy to pray for Kelsey.
Listen, the pandemic's been hard, and people have been turning to all kinds of things to cope, and she's just been hitting those root beer sodas just like too hard, like looking at 3, 4, 5 bottles a week at least.
Oh wow, that's a lot of root beer. That's
a lot of sugar. Not a lot of caffeine, which I guess is good. But I'm just hoping that she can ease up and maybe bring it back to 2 bottles a week.
Yeah, exactly. And we're talking 2-liter bottles.
Yeah, I am talking 2 liter bottles.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we'll lift Kelsey up tonight and just. But anyways, if we could open our Bibles to Malachi, where we left off, Malachi was talking to his friend calamine lotion.
Right. I'm still on chapter 3, so I don't know if I'm there.
Okay, spoilers.
Thanks.
Should we do some Christian rock lyrics?
Let's do it.
Can't you see you're not making Christianity better? You're just making rock and roll worse.
All right, so for my Christian rock lyric, I thought I'd just go with somebody who I found is one of the most recent people who toured with Franklin Graham.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, who opened for him at one of the youth events. When I was a teenager, I saw Billy Graham at the Sky Dome. What it was called at the time was the Sky Dome.
Oh.
Who opened for him? It was like the youth night as well. So that was Michael W. Smith and DC Talk.
I just want to say this really, really quickly. Can you imagine going to a concert and then you're like, oh, this concert is so good, so fun. And then at the end, they just have some old white guy come out and speak for an hour?
Yeah, that's what it was. Mad. Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like, and then at the end they do the altar call, and like Michael W. Smith came out and played some music as you're coming up to give your life to the Lord or whatever.
You come up and give your life to the Lord?
Yeah, so with Billy Graham Crusades, and I think Franklin does it too, there's an altar call at the end. So you say, and if anybody feels called to give their life to Jesus Christ, come up front. And then all these people come down from their seats, they walk to the front, and like the people who work there pray for them. And then they're given like resources and how to join a local church or things like that. And yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like if you're going there, you already go to a church.
Yeah, a lot of times it'd be like people that, their parents dragged them to go there, or
I can't see how I would be there. I don't know how I would even know about it unless I was at a church.
Yeah, I went to, because I've seen Billy Graham twice, I think. But the second time it was
in Graham head, huh?
A big Graham head. Well, Billy Graham's like, he's the evangelical pope, right?
Oh, right.
But the second time a guy from high school was there, and he did get up and like give his life to the Lord or whatever. And he has been since then a very outspoken Christian person. And before that was kind of a whatever, like the party dude. So I guess, something to be said. I don't know. But
maybe it's the argumentative skeptic in me, but I can't imagine going anywhere and being swayed into changing my whole life system
by one speech. Yeah.
At a concert. Yeah. If anything, I hate when like musicians speak.
Yeah.
Most times.
Yeah. But this is from a band called Crowder. It's basically the David Crowder is the guy's name. It's David or Daniel? It doesn't matter.
Boyd Crowder from Justified.
Yeah. But the song's called...
He was a preacher too in Justified.
Yeah.
But I think he was a neo-Nazi too.
That'll happen. So, yeah. But yeah, the song's called Milk and Honey. It's actually a pretty new release. Just came out last month, I think. It goes a little like this. I'm headed to a place where the rivers flow. I'm headed to a place where the streets are gold. Oh, my soul, this I know. You won't need no money. You can't bring your fame. Soon the day is coming when we will see his face. Choirs will be singing. Saints on bended knees. Angels will be dancing. We will all be free. God in his glory, as far as you can see. It's like every day is Sunday in the land of milk and honey.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I've definitely heard much worse.
Yeah. I don't know if that doesn't sound like the afterlife I'd want.
Yeah.
Like just like honey. Bowing down, listening to choirs. And
it sucks if you're vegan.
Yeah.
You can't have either of those.
Yeah, it's true.
Or if you're lactose intolerant.
Would you still be vegan in heaven?
Right.
Like maybe the milk doesn't actually come from a cow. It just comes from like a fountain.
That's true.
Yeah, and then it just curdles over time if you don't drink.
But what kind of milk is it?
Oh, that's true. Maybe it's just oat milk.
Right. Cassie's been really getting into oat milk lately.
It's not my favorite. I don't mind it in like a hot coffee, like a latte. But as soon as it cools down, it's like, no, thank you. Yeah,
that's fair. Well, she's found a brand she likes because there's others that she does not like.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I find is true of any alternative milk.
I agree.
They're all slightly different.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I rarely drink lattes and stuff anyway.
Same. Every time I get one, I'm just like, why did I get this?
Yeah, I'd rather just have a black coffee.
Yeah, I agree. It's just always too much dairy.
Yeah, it's true.
And I love dairy, but
yeah. Well, that's our Billy Graham and fam episode.
That's right.
And that's our take on growing up Graham.
Yeah, and if you ever think about becoming an evangelist or following one, maybe take a step back and think about that first,
Yeah,
that's all I'm gonna say.
And thanks again to everybody. Thanks to the patrons. Thanks to everyone who comments and reaches out. And it's we really appreciate it, and we like you all.
Yeah, thank you, and we'll see you next time
on Believe It or Did I
Not.
Bye. Work, Sky Moon.